This is the writer and the wit, Brandy Ford, and I'm talking to Paul Haywood today, actor and comedian. And how are you today?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good. Can't complain. Who'd listen?
Good. Welcome to the show. You enjoying the sunshine? It's so nice out there here.
Yeah, it's a
So
nice change, right? It's this time of year where you're through the winter crunch, but the spring cold feels colder, I think, because we're ready for warmth.
yeah, it does. Yeah, you get a little nice day, and then when the next day is just typical weather, you put on a parka because you're freezing. You're like, what the hell is
Yeah,
this? Yeah,
yeah,
in between, and then everything's so gray, but there's like this bright sunshine right now, so it's like this juxtapose is so weird too.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah. So I'm talking to you today because you are returning the Comedy for Kidneys Festival fundraiser is happening on Thursday, April 6th at the Greg Fruin Theater.
Yep.
And you are on the lineup and you're returning. So you've been on the show before, obviously.
Oh yeah, a number of times for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a number of times. Okay. Yeah. So can you tell me a bit about the event?
Yeah, so Rodney Pentland was my best friend. uh, coming through, coming up through the ranks in comedy. I met him May of '94,
Okay.
and he was already somewhat established, coming out of Niagara Falls, of course, via New Brunswick. What? And yeah, yeah, kind of an early mentor, and then just a fantastic buddy. And then yeah, he got a brain aneurysm, and then he had to have a shunt put in, and which affected his kidneys greatly. And yeah, unfortunately he passed away, I think, in '09, March of '09. And yeah, so every year it's great to you know uh, just do some good in his name. He On the poster is a picture of him doing Robert De Niro, which was his signature bit. Like, there is
Yeah.
no other people have done the impression for sure, but when you see him, when you saw him do it, it was pretty epic, pretty eye-popping, and yeah, nobody wanted to follow that,
Yeah.
no, at any time. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, he was a great dude, great big heart. I was out on tour in '96, and didn't really have an apartment to come home to. ah, Such as the
Oh,
nomad life back then. And yeah, he just put me up. That's the kind of guy he was. So yeah.
well, that's nice.
that-
Bonding with somebody when you're staying with them too. And that's
yeah, yeah, no, he was a great influence, and yeah, fantastic guy.
yeah, yeah. So comedy brought you guys together. Um,
Yep.
so um, so what is it about comedy that you think unites people, like can bond people and bring them together?
Well, they say laughter is the closest distance between two people, and I think, as comics, I like to think we're healers as opposed to provokers. Some comics, they like to tap the glass and provoke and incite, but I really think we're, laughter is the best medicine. They say that for a reason, and yeah, I really subscribe to that. And when he was going through what he was going through, he would go to dialysis, I think, once a week, if I'm not right on that. So he'd bring humor everywhere he went, like putting all those other people at ease too, that he's at dialysis with, and just everywhere he went, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so comedy was just something in common, and it's not something you do after a while, it's who you are.
Hmm.
And so yeah, Rodney showed a lot of that, and he was just always there, always there for you, that kind of thing. And it's good to kind of give back and be there for other people through his name.
Yeah. Um, Talking to comedians, like a lot of it is you find that they almost feel like it's a duty to make people laugh. Like they're doing it for other people. Like they want to make people feel better, give them something. If they have a rotten day and they come to a comedy show, like they just want them to be able to sit there for an hour or whatever it is and just be able to forget all the shit that's going on in their lives, right? And
100%. Yep, totally right. Yeah, just forget their troubles and have a laugh and just relieve the pressure. And I think with the pandemic, I haven't done the show in 3 years actually. It was March 2020, where it was just everything changed after the show. Next morning, driving home, everything was closing on the radio, and we weren't sure what was going on. And
yeah,
like everybody else, we thought our industry was dead as a doornail. Thought that was the last show, and it wasn't. Thank goodness. And I think you're really going to see some grateful energy from the comics on the 6th. That's for sure.
yeah, I'm looking
Reflecting
forward
that.
to it. So have you always, were you the typical class clown, stereotypical, or did you always know comedy was your thing, or did it kind of find you? Like, how did you get on stage for the first time?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I kind of knew in grade 7 that yeah, this comedy thing was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Bill Cosby. I don't anymore. And then I heard George Carlin,
Mhm.
and it was just like, oh, hang on. How is he doing that? How is he making all these people laugh like that? You're fascinated. And so pretty soon after that, sports became a little less important. And yeah, and then I saw Richard Pryor albums, and then it was, yeah, confirmed. This has got to be what I'm going to do. So going through high school, I had a kind of a comfort level, thinking you got to be not cocky but confident. Just like, yep, I'm going to be a comedian, and this history is nice and the math's adorable, but I'm going to be going to the comedy club.
Yeah, math is so adorable. Yeah.
So yeah, and then you reach 50, and that's just sort of like, what am I doing again? Oh yeah, right. So it's
Yeah.
just yeah, it's a long haul. And they like you say, like people say, you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's certainly the case with comedy. And you got Mark Matthews in there too, who he ran a club. And so
Mhm.
we would come from Toronto to and pile of us amateurs in someone's car and looking for stage time, and he was just kind of like, all right, get in here. And he he showed us what's up, showed us
Yeah.
what to expect. And Niagara Falls, that was a big club. It was in the old bus terminal, so it was a big round room. And it was an opportunity to with all the X franchises, you could travel around and kind of hit the amateur nights just to get stage repetition and all that good stuff. But yeah, Mark was definitely there for a lot of us in the early going. 100%.
Yeah. And yeah, like Mark is so supportive. Like I've seen him, like I cover some of the amateur shows around here, Niagara region as well. And what I always find is so remarkable is that he will stay. He's like Mark Matthews is headliner, but he will stay like after, and he'll stay till the end. Like he'll anybody who comes over and has any questions, like he'll sit there and he'll talk and he'll like
Yep.
give advice and help and everything like that. Like he genuinely is interested and wants to support people who
Yeah.
are into it, who love it. So
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, that's Mark, like he will do that. He's like a ball player staying to sign every autograph, right? Until they're all done. He's like Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken used to do that. He used to sign everything, and not just like, I gotta go, guys, but he'd just be like, is anybody else? And then he would go. But yeah, Mark would watch all the acts. If you had a question, ask, kind of thing.
yeah,
And you'd get an answer for sure, because he
yeah,
was paying attention. And And that rubs off. I'm just gonna let my dog in here. Yeah, it rubs off when comes time for you to be the senior sort of element with people coming up. Like I've had traveled out east, and I've had groups of comics starting out, fledgling comics starting out, and I've helped them. Same kind of thing. Done writing workshops, and just gonna let her out again because she's a
Yeah.
finicky
Mine's barking back and forth, so I'm just leaving her out there.
yeah.
I'll have to get up. There's a squirrel out there or a leaf or something. I don't know.
yeah.
She wasn't barking before the interview started, but now she knows I'm doing something. She's like
Yeah.
has to be self-known.
Highly interested. Yeah.
Yeah.
There used to be, like when I came up, my generation was experiencing the very last of the bad abusive behavior from older comics, you could say.
Mhm.
And where they wouldn't talk to you and they wouldn't give you advice because they were afraid that you were coming for their jobs.
Okay.
And we were. But you can't be afraid of that. You can't be closed off like that. So a group of us coming off amateur night, there was a bunch of us kind of, all agreed that kind of stuff would stop with us.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas Mark was always that way, he was always supportive. So
Yeah.
but in Toronto, some of the older crew was, they were abusive.
And the thing is, right, I always look at it, my success doesn't take away from your success, and your success doesn't take away from mine. But if you support each other, your success, it can be bigger, like together. When you have a support team and you have that thing, and like whether it's writing, comedy, or anything, everybody has their own particular voice, if you're good at it, if you have a talent, right? Like, I'm not talking about someone coming up copying something like kind of like that, but who's in it because they love it. That's the difference when you have that genuine passion, right?
100%.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's true. And other people's successes are not your personal failure. 100%. That's been a mantra of mine for like forever. And you got to stay, you got to stay humble. You got to be not afraid of, who's coming up behind you, and it doesn't matter. It's your trip. You got to just, what was I going to say there? Pretty much the same lines.
It's kind of like so focused on someone else's career and what they're doing and why are they getting, why is that? Then you're not focused on yourself. Like every 5 minutes you take thinking about negatively about someone else, you could be putting into yourself. So
100%. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So when I was out in Newfoundland, there was a club. My mom's whole side's from there. It's a little closer to the heart a little bit. And so when the club was there, you right into helping all the grassroots comics coming up, and at a writing workshop they attended, and a lot of them that attended my workshop are now touring the country as headliners themselves. And I said to one comic, Colin Hollett, he's great. I said, what you need to do is set up a circuit on this island, and you need to work that circuit till you get really good.
Mhm.
And then what you need to do is you need to fly me out, and I'll headline it for you. And they did that. And so they just kind of developed, and it's great. It's great. Rising tide floats all boats.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. It's amazing. So do you remember the first time that you went on stage? Like,
oh yeah.
That was it. I've heard it's either so good, like it's amazing, or it was like horrible. Like there's like kind of no in between. So what was it like for you?
There are elements of both all at once.
Okay.
There's enough good to keep you hooked for next time. There's enough bad to kind of really make you study.
Yeah. Or think
I was in high school. It was 1987. It was I was in grade 10, and they just had the disaster in Jamaica, Hurricane Gilbert. ravaged the place. And so we had a huge Jamaican population in my school. And so we did a benefit, United Way benefit. And I just decided, I'm gonna tell some jokes at this thing. I think I had one original joke. I didn't understand the concept of writing or whatever at that point.
Yeah.
I did a couple George Carlin jokes. It was maybe 4 minutes, and some of them went great. Other time there was a moment or two where they were throwing pennies, and a couple heckle back and forths. It was it was like losing your virginity and being in a car crash at the same time.
Wow. That's great imagery right there.
Yeah, so there's that, and then there was like that was the first entry, mind you. And there's a bunch of different entry levels. Like in May '94 was just like a raw open mic night in a bar full of winos who had art on the walls. We tried to get rid of the winos, but the bartender said, "Do you like the art on the walls, fellas?" And it's like, "Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's done by all these guys that are heckling you. It's going to be like this every week. Buckle
Oh,
up." And so there's that entry. And then what we did was we tried to learn in obscurity. By the time you got to the clubs to do regular amateur nights, you had a rhythm, some kind of rhythm. You weren't just completely green. You wanted to show some ability, I think. And so there's that too. So that was oh my gosh, 92 was my first Yucks amateur night. I had Beastie Boy tickets in my back pocket.
no.
The only memory I have really is I kept looking down at the stage floor. It was just nerves. And I remember looking at the microphone cord all coiled up. I'm thinking, that's a long mic cord. That's weird. And I should be like, just do your jokes. Some guy yells, "You suck." And I said, I don't know where it came from, but I said, "No, I don't do requests, actually." Are you talking to me or the guy under your table?
Yeah.
And then
Oh, that's
I got a huge laugh, and then it was sort of like, whoa, what did I do? It was that moment, that Wile E. Coyote moment where he's over the cliff floating with the umbrella, and he's just kind of, how am I doing this? And then, oh, poop, and then falls, right? That's
yeah.
pretty much it. So, and I went to the concert, and all I could think about was stand up.
Yeah. I was
So,
gonna say, like, it's been compared to like this high that you just can't get anywhere else. Like when you come off stage and you've had like a good set and everything's
yeah,
going crazy, like it's just like you're riding that adrenaline and
yeah,
you
yeah.
want
And
that.
later in life, you don't perform for a while for whatever reason, pandemic or whatever. Then you realize, yeah, comics gotta perform to feel good.
Mhm.
Gotta do what you do. And because I come home from a gig and my wife's there and she goes, "How'd it go?" I'm like, "Oh, it was great. This is working, this happened, and this, la, 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 la." And so
Yeah.
it's cathartic, really. Because it becomes who you are. And if you don't do what you do, then you kind of get a little muddled, a little messed up, and you need a little mental chiropractic adjustment to get back to your natural habitat.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything, first of all, I guess, is there something that you've achieved in your career that you're like, fuck yeah, I can't believe I've done this. And then is there something still that that you're aiming towards, like something that you haven't done yet, but you really want to?
Yeah, couple things. I've done a lot of commercials. I got into it with stand up, and then during a contest I was approached by an agent, and so you kept stage and TV kind of separate.
Mhm.
But I guess it was 2012 or 13. I got a mini role in the RoboCop reboot.
Oh yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that was filming at Pinewood Studios in Toronto. So Pinewood is a British company. in London they have Pinewood, so they did all the Monty Pythons, they did The Shining, all kinds of movies, James Bond, and so in Toronto there's like I don't know, it's a huge studio, 6 floors, and each floor is like, I don't know, 20 or 30,000 square feet. And
Mhm.
so you get off the elevator and it's that movie, whatever it is, the whole floor, wardrobe, planning, logistics, everything.
You're walking into like a whole other world.
Yeah. And so RoboCop was one of those. And of course I I had 4 lines, but I mean, you're out of your mind nervous,
Yeah.
I erased every word that I knew except for my lines.
Yeah.
And I get in there and it's I see the call sheet and it doesn't make any sense. There's character names and then played by another character. And I was like, what is this? And then someone said, well, it's security. This guy, this name here, that's Gary Oldman. This guy's
Mhm.
Michael Keaton, and on and on and on. And you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
sorry, what?
Yeah.
And
Is this
so,
happening?
yeah, in the rehearsal at the boardroom, fully catered, 3 meat, hot catered lunch kind of thing in the boardroom. And Keaton and Oldman, and they all file in. Sony, Canada, everybody. It's freakish.
Wow,
And I ended up saying my lines to Gary Oldman's face.
that's
It
amazing.
was, I was out of my mind. And
That's a fuck yeah moment.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so we're out on the lot, just standing there. Joel Kinnaman is a Swedish actor. He's great. He played RoboCop. I'm standing there with him and Mr. Oldman, and it's just kind of like, where am I? So I just kept the same thing on amateur night. First pro gig, I was just sort of like, I'm just going to shut this for a bit and just do whatever I'm told, kind of thing. I
Yeah.
ended up, I'm walking by the trailer, and there's Gary Oldman standing on the top step of his trailer, smoking a cigarette like a German border guard, and he's got his phone here. And he's from Oxford, England, so he's got the great accent, but he can just get rid of it at will. He was in
That's
True Romance. I don't know if you remember that movie, True Romance. He had the
yeah. Yeah.
dreads, the gold teeth. So
Oh my
anyway,
God.
yeah. So Joel's talking to him like we talk to each other, like Richard Pryor, and Joel's just like Gary played a doctor, so he's just like, "You ain't no doctor. You ain't shit." All this kind of stuff, and then he just slowly took the cigarette out and he's just like, "Excuse me a second," hits pause, and then joins right in, full Richard Pryor, like beyond where Joel was at. And like he just channeled Richard Pryor
That's
right
crazy.
there. And he's just like, "You ain't no robo, you ain't no robot," like back right back to him. And he looks at me inquisitively, and I'm just sort of like, "It's not white boy day, is it?" And he just, a plume comes out his nose, and it was just like, "Gotcha. I gotcha." Like just made Gary Oldman laugh. Like
Oh my God. Wow.
just like yeah, I've seen all these movies that he's done. It's just and he's right over there. It's
Yeah.
just
Exactly. Right in front of you, and yeah, that.
yeah, it's just like Bugs Bunny live. Where'd he come from? So there's that. Yeah, I did the comedy special. I've done a couple of festivals. I think on the horizon though, eventually, maybe a cruise ship. I think that'd be pretty fantastic. Take the wife and just hit the Caribbean and do a show in front of the theater. I think that would be pretty awesome. Other than that, just keep on keeping on, really.
Just kind of day to day what pops up, and it's kind of hard to say because you don't know what opportunities are going to happen, so sometimes
Yeah.
it's
Well, when the pandemic hit, it was just like, not only is the industry gone, but cruise ships was the first thing to go. Like you're just
yeah.
like, well, that goes that's gone. And you're just wondering, like the sports league shut down. It was, I mean, as you know, it was
Yeah.
insane. And
Yeah,
so to
minute
get
the hockey games were down, that's when I was like, oh wow, okay. Yeah, and then show's
yeah,
closing, something's happening.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you thought that, and I just had the thought of should probably in a cruise ship. I remember being on one with my wife and just not performing, just on a vacation. Thought it was great, and
Yeah.
we went to the comedy show. It was like 1,500 people in this theater, and just sort of like, oh my god, I could I could do this, and just, walk around like a normal guy. I did perform at a resort in the Dominican, very similar. It's fantastic. Luckily, none of the guests went to the shows. They bussed people in from elsewhere. So you still had
Oh,
that anonymous next day kind of thing. I didn't have to put on the disguise or
yeah.
whatever.
Up on
Just-
you on your vacation.
Yeah,
Ask
yeah,
put suntan oil on them and
yeah. I'm just trying to drink and read. I don't know.
yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
all inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Oh,
just doing that.
that's cool. So do you have any advice for the show? So I'm actually opening the show. So it's my first time doing anything like that. So do you have any advice for myself and anybody who's starting in comedy?
Oh man. Just have fun. Have fun. Be yourself. Just think of what you want to say, but don't be married to it. Come hell or high water kind of thing. Just have a good framework, a little framework, and just play within the parameters of what you want to say. And yeah, have fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like it is fun. And
That's
if you look like you're having fun, it's more contagious for the crowd. Are you doing stand up? I guess you're right.
I just started. So the reason I asked about your fuck yeah moments, because I made this goal this year to say fuck yeah to things like opportunities and everything. So I had made this big post about I'm going to say yes to everything. And then because I have been covering comedy for a year and going out to the shows, getting to know people, one of the bookers was like, would you like to try stand up? Right. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Because right.
Yeah.
So he had a show at Comedy Bar, so I did that, and that was January 13th. And then it's just been kind of crazy for me lately, so I've just been doing stand up. And it was
awesome.
something. And that's why I asked you if you always knew or if it was something that found you, because this is something, even when I just I started covering the comedy and I knew I loved it, and that's why I just kept writing more stories and following that. But I didn't ever think that I would like maybe write a humor book, but get on stage like that was just, I would look at them and be, how can you do that? Like how can you do that? And I did it, and I can't even explain it. Like the moment you're on stage, it's just like, okay, that's not like, it's like a thing. Like
here I am walking out. Okay.
Yeah.
One good piece now that you think about it is if you and this is kind of what I do is you write it out word for word. Just pretend you're on the stage. What would you say? And just pretend you're on the stage, but write it down. And that way you're burning it into your brain to the point where you know it. It's part of you. You can't forget it. The other part is true stuff is the best. It happened to you. You can recall it with the same energy that you had when it occurred to you. You can always deliver. You have no choice but to deliver it that same way because it happened to you. It's your memory. The other point is nobody can take it. No one can steal that joke because it's the story of your Aunt Barb. You have an Aunt Barb too. That's my Aunt Barb story. You stole my Aunt Barb. You know what I mean? Like it's a part of you.
True.
And as the gigs come and go, you can deliver it. You can almost see it in your head when you're on stage. That's what happens for me. And that way you can deliver that line any weather. Gigs going good, gigs going shit, gigs going average, same. And it's the same energy, same emotion. And so if you write it all out, it's there for you. It's in your brain. And also maybe you write it out a couple of times, and then a couple of gigs later, you got to kind of prime the pump to get to the good stuff. I've had it where I've edited the crap out of this piece, whatever it is, in my head, walk out, put the water down, start doing the thing. And then your brain's like, hey, that line, you don't need that. Chop it. You edit on the fly. And then as you say it, I just go, holy fuck, I just chopped out 2/3 of that joke, it's way better. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You had to write it out. You had to get there to know that.
Yeah. And your
So it's
brain
like
does it.
it's the diligent kind of thing, and yeah, burning it into that memory, and so it's there for all time. And then later you can, when you record yourself, you can kind of listen to it and watch the lyrics, like buying an album back in the day, just following along. Maybe make notes. You're listening. It's like, I've done this bit, this bit, this bit. Compare it. It's like, oh, I went off route a little bit here, but came back over here. Okay, just comparing, and your brain will edit on the fly eventually.
That's cool. I like the way you were describing about like seeing it, because that's very much what I do. Like I wrote it out, and then I also like did paragraphs, and I like color coded them, like the different things. So and then it was like, I know when I say this line that triggers, oh yeah, now I'm leading into this. And it's like I see it in my head. Like I can't even explain it to anybody else. But you said it perfectly. It's just like
100%.
it's right, like it's similar to when I'm writing. Like if I'm writing an article, once I get the lead, like I know I'm speaking to someone, I know, okay, I know I want to make sure I put that in the article, and all these different puzzles. And once I have the lead, boom, 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 all the pieces kind of fit together. And then sometimes I read it after and I'm like, who the hell wrote that? Because I use the language I don't even use in my normal conversation. And it's just like, wow, like I love it like that when you get lost in the moment of writing and
oh yeah. And then the nuances come where you're working the clubs. It's always good to know, keep in your head, find where the funny is, and just kind of keep it tight and short. The quickest route to the funny is always better. Later on, your brain might take another circuitous route around it. Or if you're in a theater, you have more time. You have a little bit more leeway, a little more wiggle room for extra lines that could be acted out a little more, that would never get tolerated in the club. You don't have time for it. It's just like, let's go. But in the theater, the audiences is pretty much kind of like, not spooked out, but just kind of like they've been hypnotized, right? They're in the theater. It's like, oh, theater, wow.
Yeah.
Everything's looking up, everything's up, and you're, oh, there's the program. Oh, this is nice. Oh, that's a nice design. You're looking up like that, and the comic comes out, and you're just kind of like, oh, wow. In the club, they're behind a table, and they're just kind of like, they've got a little bunker. Their drinks are there, and they're just kind of like, let's see how funny this guy is, whatever.
Yeah.
So they have more comfort. But in the theater, it's all you. Like what I like to say is, it's when you walk out in the theater, you're walking out to the microphone. It's already 2-0 for you. You haven't done anything. The theater's done the work to that point. And then you can just go out and crush them. But in the club, you got to be a little more efficient, I think, in my experience, for sure.
Yeah. And then like the clubs, when there's people there for comedy, but like people who are going out to the open mics, a lot of the time it's at a bar or something, and it's people who aren't there specifically for the comedy sometimes, and so those are hard for people to get people listening to them too.
Those rooms are they're good and bad. They're good in that you're learning a new bit, you're putting together a set. You don't know how it goes. You got to hear yourself say it. There used to be a comic, it probably still does stuff, Mike Cliff, who he would hold a paper right here, like no apologies, and just read it off the thing, and just needed to hear it. So you do that. Good and bad, because eventually you learn only so much in the open mic environment, where you kind of have to get out and get another gig, like a better gig, like just where there's way less people, maybe just 3, and to allow for your growth, because eventually, I've had amateurs kind of, I think I've learned all I can in an open mic, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, you got to take the next step, whatever that is for you. But open mics will always have always be valuable, 100%. But eventually you got to kind of rise up a little bit from it. You've taken what you've learned from it and then just kind of apply it there. It's kind of like, I'm in grade 6 still.
Yeah, I'd like to know what you're doing.
Yeah. So
You know?
it's all relative like that. For me anyway, 100%.
Yeah. And I know you have to go soon, well, so I'll ask one more question and then, do you have a before stage ritual or how do you get into the zone before? Like I've seen some people, they just go up there, they're sitting there chatting before, people having drinks or whatever, other
Yeah.
people are kind of sitting there in the corner focusing. Like what do you do?
Yeah, well, I still get nervous. Nervous is a good sign. That's a great sign. It's positive. It means you care still. People say they're not nervous. You can't believe that stuff. You're nervous for a reason, because you care. You want it to go well. Me, what do? I just kind of, when I'm driving down the highway, like when I'm driving there, when it comes up, I'll be all in my head will be the set as I drive. Maybe I'll listen to some audio, get to the hotel, get settled in. Maybe I'll take one of those neat cool little pads they always give you and fill that with a routine or a joke I promised myself I wouldn't forget.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the theater, it's all prep. Like here I am now in my gig clothes. Okay, it's time to strap it on. All right. And you get that focus pretty quick. You see all the other comics. It's like, okay, yeah, there's that heart rate. Okay, good. All right. And for me, it's put it in your head and just go out there and let it rip, kind of thing, as opposed to having a note or a cheat sheet. Sometimes I'll have a cheat sheet, to be honest. But for me, I kind of make some mistakes after a while with that. It's like, if you have a list, you're going to look at it. And in my head, I'm like, fuck, here I am looking at that thing again. God
Yeah.
damn it. If it's not there, it's here. So I just try to just put it right in here. Then I realize, you think about Rodney a little bit, he'd be like, just go kick their ass, would you? Like, and then maybe if I'm extra nervous, I'll just go in the mirror and I'll get up real close and I'll go, hey, you seem a little nervous. Hey, remember, this is all bullshit. This is all bullshit. And then you're like, oh yeah. You get to
You'll
a
be
nice
fine.
comfort level. Yeah. And then you just go out and rip it up. Like for me, I'll be like, if you do those 2 new jokes and you open with this, then you can have a nice, delicious beer after. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't.
There's the
No.
reward.
Right? So as opposed to you've seen other comics, they just get wasted and pretty soon that's what you have to get up there. It's no bueno. Kind of have to get up there natural and then reward yourself after that.
Yeah, like be in the moment. One piece of advice Mark Matthews said is when you go out there, just to take a moment and take a deep breath and then just kind of like look out at the audience and just appreciate that moment, like where you are and how fantastic that is, and just relax because you're there to have fun. They're here to have fun, and just take that breath and just no one is even going to notice that you do it. Like,
you'll see Mark do that. You'll see Mark, he'll go out and he's hosting. So he'll make the audience do 3 things at once, immediately. He'll thank them from coming out. Give yourselves a round of applause. There's a nice round of applause. Your headliner tonight is this person. How about some love for this person coming up later on?
Mm-hmm.
How about a hand for the staff, Greg Fruin, for letting us be here tonight, blah, blah, blah. And so that's 3. And they've all just clapped together and you're molding them into that comedy, Play-Doh, making them more malleable, ready to go. And then he'll rip it up and start it up. And but it's those little tricks like that. I definitely take a moment for sure. Just have fun.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you very much for talking to me.
Yeah,
Where
no problem.
can people go if they want to find out more information or follow you, and what are your social, all the details?
Yeah. Well, I'm on Facebook. I post a lot of stuff there. I'm on Instagram as well. Twitter, I'm on Twitter as well, for sure. Normally I just post things on my Facebook and go from there, kind of thing. Facebook and Instagram, because the the posters have never been better as we move along. So that they look fantastic, and it's boom, it's on your Facebook, and it's all there.
Okay,
For sure.
cool.
All right.
Okay. And yeah, so the comedy for kidney benefit is on Thursday, April 6th. And for more information and tickets, people can go to thegregfruintheater.com.
Yep,
Great.
for sure.
Thank you
100%.
very much. Thank you. It was nice.
All right. You
Yeah.
too. Have a great
All right.
day.
Thanks.